Hey everyone, welcome to West Coast Muscle Saws. Doing a little work on a couple projects today. Michael's in the foreground there. Michael's Steel 261. Doing some engine work on it. Going to be a display chainsaw. And I'm also working on a McCulloch Super Pro 125 Ryan's. Just a beautiful saw. Got a little bit of the pitch and dug fur from the West Coast, it looks like, but it'll clean up good. But I pulled the exhaust off, looked inside, very clean. What's really cool about it, these are very hard to find. Got the original exhaust cover. These are made out of some magnesium. That was one of the first things to get busted when a log or a limb bumped it. It always busted and cracked. This is in great shape. Clutch cover, of course, perfect shape. Just a great saw. But let me show you what I found on this. It wouldn't run. It was starving for fuel. And we've talked on carburetors before how to test them with the carburetor completely assembled. The diaphragm here has a little notch here, and that notch hooks on the metering level there. You can see that little horseshoe there, a little hook. Make sure it's always hooked into place. And with this cover in place, you can hook up your pressure vacuum gauge to here, and you can put a little bit of pressure on it. And by pushing in here, you can see if the high speed, low speed jets are functioning properly, if you got a restriction. I tested it and they were not working properly. And here's what I found. This one is what's called a fixed high speed jet, meaning there is no adjustment for the high speed, you just have adjustment for the low speed. They did this for a reason. This is a Tillotson. And the guys were leaning these big saws out with long bars, and they were seizing the engines. Lack of fuel will just kill these old vintage McCulloch saws, and did back in the day. It just would take the engine right out. So the fix was low speed right here. You can adjust it. High speed fixed, you can't adjust it. But it has to get a certain amount of fuel to that nozzle, that high speed nozzle. And this is your high speed nozzle. And it sits right in the air, pushes down into it, and you can see it's got a little hole in the top. Whoops. Got a little dinky hole there. It feeds fuel through that little hole, plus, if you look real close here, you can see right in front of the, where I've got my probe, there's a little hole there. It feeds fuel into here. And when I pressurized this and tested it, it wasn't flowing properly. And here's what I found. This is your high speed. And see that big old chunk of debris right here? That's actually blocking the flow of fuel to the nozzle. And we were getting a lean run condition. I'm going to clean all that out, give it a good cleaning. You can also, and I've showed a previous video how to test these by probing through there. Of course, newer carburetors, they get their atmospheric vent from another spot, so you don't have this on most all your newer carburetors. But what you can do is take a newer carburetor, and you can get one of these plates from an old carburetor, and you can drill a little hole in there, and you do basically the same testing to see if the high speed, low speed are working by putting your modified cover on and doing a test like in previous videos. It's out there if you want to look at it. Not too old a video before this one. And of course, the pressure vacuum gauge, the heart and soul of every true chainsaw guy. You've got to have these. If you don't have one, you're trying to repair carburetors, work on saws, you're just shooting in the dark. I do put a kit together. Guys are aware of it. It's got all got the pressure vacuum gauge, got some bells and whistles in it. Anyway, you got any questions, you know how to get hold of the chainsaw guy.